I'm Dhruti Athri, you're watching TimesXP and welcome to the top US news today. Los Angeles is facing big protests and a lot of tension after surprise immigration raids by the US authorities. These raids, carried out by ICE, Immigration and Custom Enforcement, led to the arrest of over 100 people across the city, many of them in areas with large migrant population. Everything started when US President Donald Trump ordered tougher immigration action. ICE, along with Homeland Security, began arresting people at local markets, distribution centers, and even outside big stores like Home Depot. In just one day, that is Friday, June 6th, at least 40 people were taken into the custody. As the news of raids spread, people began gathering to protest in places like Paramount District of LA. Protesters clashed with police, and officers used tear gases to push people away. In fact, some protesters tried to shield themselves with masks as clouds of tear gases filled the air. People said that migrants were even trapped in nearby shops, too scared to leave. In fact, the condition was so worse that Trump signed an order to send 2,000 National Guard troops to Los Angeles. Troops started arriving quickly, some protesters were arrested, and videos online showed violent scenes, including flag burning and people shouting angry slogans against Trump. But this particular move has upset many in California too. Governor Gavin Newsom announced that the state will sue Trump for sending federal troops without California's approval. He called Trump's action illegal and unconstitutional and said that the president is only making things worse. The protests have now stretched into a third day. Some people are worried that the situation is turning into something like 1992 LA riots, which also started after people felt targeted by the police. Those riots costed 50 lives and over 2,000 injured. This time the issue is immigration, but the emotions are just as strong. People fear that racial targeting and unfair treatment, and they are demanding that the government stop these raids. LA Police Chief Jim McDonald said that the protests were becoming more violent and that his officers were being targeted. He said that he might need some more help to handle this situation. On the other hand, Trump says that the protests are out of control. In a post online, he said that don't let these thugs get away with it. Arrest the people in a face mask right now. As of now, California is standing firm against the federal government. Lawsuits are being prepared, protests are growing, and migrants across Los Angeles are worried for their safety. The coming days may shape how America handles immigration enforcement. Since Donald Trump became the president, the rules for getting US visa have become much stricter. And this has caused a lot of delays, and many people now have to wait a long time to get their visa interviews scheduled. Unfortunately, some scammers are taking advantage of this particular situation to trick people. The US Embassy in New Delhi has warned everybody to be very careful and not to trust anybody who promises to speed up the visa interview process. Let me tell you, recently, a 45-year-old engineer from India, Bangalore, was tricked by scammers on the Telegram app. His visa interview was originally scheduled for April 2026, but the scammers promised to move it earlier for a fee. The scammers contacted the engineer through a Telegram channel about B1 and B2 visas. One scammer, who called himself Vanam Sharwan, asked the engineer to pay about 10,000 rupees and share his login details for the US visa application website. Sadly, the engineer gave up his username and password without even thinking about it. After getting the detail, the scammer sent a fake receipt to show that the interview was rescheduled and demanded another 10,000 rupees. When the engineer refused to pay more, they threatened to lock him out by changing his login information. Scared, he paid the extra money, but the scammers changed his password and locked him out of the visa portal. In the meantime, a senior police officer explained that the embassy will not help in such cases because the person shared his information with a third party, which is against the rules. This means that the engineer can no longer apply for a new visa through the official system. Now, the scam comes at a time when visa rules have become even stricter. Trump's administration recently ordered that all US consulates stop visa processing until they check applications' social media profiles. This new screening is causing delays, specifically for the Indian students who are hoping to study in the US. There is also a lot of talk of charging $1,000 as a fee to fast track visa interviews, making the process even harder. This situation shows how important it is to not only trust official sources and never share personal information with the strangers. If you want to apply for a US visa, always use the official website and be very patient. Scammers will try to take advantage of your worries, but staying careful can actually protect you from losing money. Tom Homan, who is in charge of immigration enforcement under US President Donald Trump, has asked that immigration and custom enforcement agents will keep working every single day in Los Angeles, no matter the protest or opposition. Recently, there has been a big protest in Los Angeles because IC agents have been carrying out immigration raids, trying to find and deport people who are in the country without proper documents. Some protests have been peaceful, but others turned chaotic, with people surrounding the officers and blocking their vehicle. At one time, the person was even hit by a car during these events. Despite the strong public reaction, Homan made it very clear that ICE will continue its work daily in Los Angeles. He warned that even politicians like California's Governor Gavin Newsom and Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, who could actually be arrested if they try to stop or interfere with immigration enforcement. He explained that stopping ICE agents from doing their jobs or hiding undocumented immigrants is a serious crime and could lead to felony charges. On the other hand, both Governor Newsom and Mayor Bass have expressed concern that these raids and the deployment of the National Guard, which President Donald Trump sent to Los Angeles, might make the situation worse and increase tension in the community as well. In the meantime, Homan said that ICE is focusing on people who are threats to public safety, including raids on places like businesses in downtown Los Angeles. However, he also hinted that ICE does not only target violent criminals, but anybody in the country illegally, including those who may have committed minor immigration violations. Now, this approach has caused fear among many immigrants, specifically because some have even taken into custody while attending immigration interviews, making it harder for people who trust the system. There were also rumors that ICE agents were operating in sensitive places like schools, hospitals, and churches, but Homan denied all these claims. Homan was very critical of Governor Newsom and California's sanctuary state law, which limits local cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. He blamed these policies for criminals being released onto the streets. However, in reality, California's prisons do work with ICE to identify people who might be deported, but if ICE doesn't pick them up on time, these people are released as per the law. As the situation remains tense, Homan warns that if the violence and the protests do not calm down, somebody could actually get serious hurt. This warning highlights how charged and dangerous the debate over immigration enforcement has become in Los Angeles and across the country. The ongoing protest shows how deeply this issue affects communities and the challenges of balancing law enforcement. There is a growing unrest in Los Angeles as protests against immigration raid have turned very intense. A video that's gone viral on social media shows some protesters burning and spitting on the flag of America, while shouting bad words about US President Donald Trump. This video has sparked many Americans and caused a lot of reactions online. People who saw the video are angry and confused. Many users on social media asked how people could disrespect the country that they live in. Some called it a serious insult and even said that it should be a crime to burn the flag. One person commented that the US should increase deportation, while others said that troops should be sent in to stop this kind of behavior. These protests started after immigration and custom enforcement officers carried out large raids across Los Angeles. Many undocumented immigrants were arrested during these raids, including some people with criminal record, like gang members and dealers, and this is according to immigration officials. To control the growing tension, Donald Trump has ordered 2,000 National Guard troops to go to Los Angeles. Some troops have already reached the city. Trump also criticized Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass and California Governor Gavin Newsom, saying that they are not doing enough to keep the city calm. Well, the situation has become a big debate in the United States. Many are asking if people want to live in the US, they would respect its symbols like a flag, right? Others are worried that this kind of protest could lead to stronger action against immigrants, even those who are peaceful. As the protests continue and more people share their opinion online, it's clear that this is no longer just a local issue. It's now part of a big national conversation on immigration. A worrying trend is growing in the United States. Indians, specifically those working as teachers or living in a diverse neighborhood, are facing open racism. One recent video that went viral shows just how bad things have become. In that particular clip, a group of young American school children are seen mocking their Indian teacher, making fun of her accent, the food she eats and music she listens to, and even the Indian culture in general. Sadly, even after this was reported to the school authorities, the bullying didn't stop. Now, this kind of behavior may seem like childish teasing, but it points out to something much deeper and more dangerous. When children at such a young age are taught, directly or indirectly, that it's kind of okay to laugh at another person's culture, it shapes how they see that group of people for life. Today it's a joke and chance in a classroom. Tomorrow it could become serious discrimination or even hate crime. Many experts believe that this shift is connected to how India is shown in some Western media and political circles. Complex issues between countries like India, China, and the US are often reduced to simple, negative ideas, and these ideas can reach children through social media, television, or even careless adult conversations at their own house. This is specifically hard on the Indian community who's living in the US, which is one of the most educated and hardworking immigrant group, by the way. According to Pew Research, Indian Americans have the highest median income among all ethnic groups in the US. Yet, they are being targeted unfairly, treated with suspicion, or mocked for their differences. Some believe actions like banning Chinese-owned apps such as TikTok may have triggered backlash against all Asians, including Indians. But beyond politics, the real issue is that India is losing its voice in the Western cultural conversation. Without correcting false stories and stereotypes, even young children began to think that India is strange, India is backwards, or India is unfriendly. This needs to be changed, and that too very fast. We must start talking openly about racism, specifically the kind faced by Indians in schools and workplaces. Teachers, parents, community leaders should step in just to promote their cultural understanding. Schools must take stronger actions when such bullying is reported, and kids must be taught early to celebrate differences instead of mocking them. If we stay silent today, this kind of hate will only grow. But if we speak up, support each other, and share our culture with pride, imagine moving to a foreign country with just 50,000 rupees in your pocket and big dreams in your heart. Well, that's what one Indian man did when he moved to the US in 2006. Today, after nearly 2 decades, he's sharing his story and what he learned along the way, specifically for others in their 30s or 40s who are trying to build a life abroad. At first, he believed working day and night was the only way to success. He skipped sleep, stayed in office late, and kept chasing his deals. But soon, it affected his mental health and happiness. That's when he realized that working non-stop isn't the same as being successful. Taking breaks, saying no to extra work, resting when needed are just as important. In his words, rest is not laziness. He encourages people in their 30s to take care of their mental and physical health while also starting to build a strong financial base. His first major tip: create an emergency fund. Not just half a year's salary, but enough to cover 6 months of all your expenses like rent, food, and bills. It's like a safety net if you ever lose your job or face a medical emergency. He also strongly advises people to use employer benefits, specifically the 401k in the US. a retirement plan where your company also adds money if you do. It's free money for future. By saving and investing smartly, even small amounts like $500 a month can actually grow into over $5 to $6 lakh by the time you retire, thanks to compound interest. As life goes on, you may start a family, buy a house, take on more responsibilities. He says that it's during this time that building a strong community matters. In his case, a small, kind gesture from a neighborhood made him realize how important it is to stay connected with people, specifically within the Indian community abroad. Friends and connection can actually help not just emotionally, but also with tips about real estate, business, and investment opportunities. For those thinking of eventually returning to India, he suggests slowly shifting around 30 to 40% of your investment into Indian option. But be very careful. Don't buy property just because of emotional reasons or hometown pride. Check if it really makes the financially sense or not. By the time he turned 40, his goal changed. Now it wasn't about earning more, but about having the freedom to choose the work that he wanted to do, spend time with his family, and avoid toxic workplace. He realized putting all savings into fixed deposit wasn't enough. Instead, he started focusing on growth-oriented investment like stocks, mutual funds, and retirement accounts that grow over time. He shares some useful target that NRI can aim for. A. Emergency fund, 6 to 12 months of expenses. B. Life insurance, at least 10 to 15 times your annual income. C. Retirement saving, 25 to 30 times your yearly income. For example, if your lifestyle in India can cost about 10 lakh rupees a year, you'll need 2.5 to 3 crore rupees saving to retire comfortably. He ends his story with a few wise words. Time is more important than income. This means starting early, even with small amount, is better than waiting. The sooner you begin saving and taking care of your health, the sooner you'll enjoy peace of mind. This NRI's journey is proof that everyone can build a happy, financially secure life abroad with patience, planning, and smart decisions. If you were flying in or out of the United States recently and faced delays, you weren't alone. Over 800 flights were delayed or cancelled in just one weekend due to bad weather hitting some of the country's busiest airports. Heavy rain in the northeast and strong winds in the south caused big problems for both domestic and international flights, affecting major airlines like Delta, Air Canada, JetBlue, American Airways, WestJet, and many more. In Detroit, continuous rainfall made it very difficult for planes to take off or land, leading to over 50 delays and 24 cancellations. One airline, Endeavour Air, was hit specifically hard, cancelling 17 flights and delaying 24 others. Even big names like Delta, Frontier, JetBlue, and Spirit were affected, although to a smaller extent. New York's LaGuardia Airport also struggled with rain, causing 36 delays and 15 cancellations. Again, Endeavour Air was the most affected, while Delta and other carriers tried to stay on schedule but still saw several delays. In the meantime, in the south, wind became the main troublemaker. At Atlanta's airport, the world's busiest airport by the way, over 220 flights were delayed and 12 were cancelled. Delta, which operates a lot of flights out of Atlanta, faced over 160 delays. Its regional partner, Endeavour Air, also had several cancellations and delays. Even international carriers like Air France, Virgin Atlantic, and Qatar Airways couldn't avoid the weather troubles. JFK Airport in New York didn't escape either. Strong winds near the coast led to 121 delays and 17 cancellations. Once again, Endeavour Air topped the cancellation list. JetBlue and Delta both saw dozens of delayed flights, while global airlines like British Airways and many others were also impacted. So in the end, in total, the weather disrupted 843 flights nationwide with 143 cancellations and 700 delays. And this happened right in the middle of a summer travel rush when many people are flying for vacations, graduations, and family visits. With packed planes and full airports, even a little bad weather can actually create big problems that ripple across the country. Travelers are now being warned to prepare for more delays as summer storms becomes more common. The FAA has already issued alert for other airports that might get hit the next time. So, if you're planning to fly soon, it's a good idea to check your flight status before heading to the airport and stay in touch with your airlines. This latest round of delays is also raising concern about how prepared airlines and airports really are. With more people flying than ever, some experts say that there's a need to be better planning, more staff, and faster responses to weather problems. In Los Angeles, tension rose sharply after immigration and custom enforcement agents carried out a series of raids in the city. These raids led to arrest of 44 people in just one day and 118 over the past week. These raids were forced on finding people who were hiding undocumented immigrants, which caused many protests in neighborhoods like Paramount and downtown Los Angeles. The protests became intense as people tried to block ICE vehicles and damage some of police property. One night things got very much intense when people damaged cars of the officers and protesters threw objects at the officers. Because of growing unrest, President Donald Trump ordered 2,000 National Guard troops to be sent to Los Angeles to help keep things under control. The National Guard troops, including some from California National Guard, started arriving on Sunday morning. They were stationed around important federal buildings such as the Metropolitan Detention Center, which had become a center for the protest. The main job of these troops is to protect federal properties and help keep the public safe. In the meantime, Homeland Security officials emphasized the importance of letting people protest peacefully while also maintaining law and order. The FBI Director, Kash Patel, warned that anybody attacking officers will face legal consequences no matter their immigration status is. Also, Defense Secretary said that if the protests continue to get worse, even more military force like active duty Marines would be sent in. Well, this decision to send the National Guard caused political controversy also. California's Governor Gavin Newsom criticized this particular move, calling it purposefully inflammatory because it was done without asking him first. This is unusual since governors usually have to approve such military deployment in their states. As of Sunday afternoon, National Guard troops were mostly in downtown Los Angeles, but protests continues in other parts of the city as well. Police declared some gatherings illegal and made some arrests as well. The situation remains tense and many people expect more protests and government responses in the coming days. That's it for today. Thanks for watching and follow TimesXP for more such updates.